Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. First of all, you guys know the drill. If you guys could please smash that like button, I really appreciate it. If you guys could leave a comment down below, I don't care what it is, just leave a comment down below. It super helps the channel out. It is Friday morning, we're back in the shop. Nothing too crazy today. We had a pretty easygoing day for the most part. I do got some paperwork I gotta send off to the EPA, but for the most part on the body side, we did finish up the Hyundai, so we got that delivered a day early. So we have a rocker panel here for a 2017 Subaru Outback. Now this is a replacement rocker panel. His other one got kind of smashed up. Now we also, while that's in getting replaced, we also have a Kurt hitch receiver that we're gonna be putting on. This is a class 3 hitch receiver. It has a 2-inch shank and it mounts to the frame rails. And he's going to be mounting a bike rack on it, so we don't need to do any trailer wiring. But that will be coming in. I was hoping he could get it in here today, but he hasn't responded to my email yet, so we'll probably see him sometime next week. We are still waiting for our Ram truck. It has been a no-show 2 times, and we have a trunk lid for a 2014 Nissan Altima. Now, this trunk lid is a used part. It came in just flawless, so we literally just have to color match this trunk lid. It does actually appear to be a little small ding right there, so we'll have to go ahead and fix that up. That's about all I see on this trunk lid, so we'll go ahead and what we'll probably end up doing is cutting in the underside first. It does have to be like a dark charcoal gray color. This is a return customer, so we are going to go ahead and use some of the leftover paint we have from his previous job. We'll go ahead and use it to cut in the underside. Now, I do remember when it was in last time, I wasn't very happy with the color match. So when we did his rear bumper cover, so we're gonna go ahead and try to get a better color match because we are also doing a repair on his front right fender. There's a couple dings, so we're gonna go ahead and repair his fender and go ahead and blend that out as well while it's in. So we'll go ahead and refinish the top side of this trunk lid after it's installed while we're doing the fender. Now that's probably not coming in for about 2 weeks or so. So we won't be seeing that too soon. Also, I don't know if you guys remember about 3 months ago, maybe even longer than that, we refinished a Type R tribute car. Now it was a right-hand drive, converted Integra, and we did like a Type R tribute. We did it in Milano red. It has a Type R JDM nose. Well, we never got around to getting the bumpers done, so we have the OEM rear bumper right here, and we also have the OEM JDM front bumper. Now, I usually do not like refinishing used panels because they take so much work to perfect, especially plastic parts, because there's so many scrapes, paint fractures, and stuff like that. But being the unique JDM nose and hard to find parts, we don't really have too much of a choice here but to go ahead and rework these panels. But it's not a big deal. It's just a bunch of little scrapes and stuff on the front lip. So we'll go ahead and separate this panel from the bumper cover. We'll go ahead and do some repairs. We'll go ahead and do the same on the Integra rear bumper. And we also have over here in my mess of tools, we have the lower section of the grille. We have the mirrors, which are in really extremely rough shape. They're gonna need some primer, as well as the left and right door handles that are Milano red, but they probably wouldn't match the car very good if we just stuck them on, and I'm sure there's some pits and chips. So we're gonna go ahead and get all these small parts. We're gonna get these kind of going in between jobs. We're just gonna start jumping over. Hopefully once we got some part stands available. I got one more in the booth, but we got to get these parts off the stands and create some room for these body panels for the Integra. So we're gonna go ahead and get these shot in Milano red. And once they are finished, we'll go ahead and have the customer bring back the car. We're gonna go ahead and install these panels, and we'll probably do an overall detail on the car once again and get this thing ready for a photo shoot. So that's about it today. On the auto repair side, back to the Jetta. I haven't had a whole lot of time to work on this, but I did have a couple of hours, and I was able to get the transmission dropped out. Now, it was a pretty easy transmission to remove. I did have to use a jack with a 2x4 on the bottom safely to jack up the motor to keep it in place to make room to get the transmission out, but it actually came out really good. I was tempted to actually remove the whole engine, but I was already kind of planning on just removing the transmission first. So by the time I thought about removing the engine, it was kind of a little too loose in there to safely go up on the lift too high. And anyways, no big deal. We're just going to go ahead and, like I said, do the clutch first. I did get the transmission out. Now I went out, it was really, really greasy, and I mean, this thing was black. So it's by no means perfect, but I went ahead and degreased and pressure washed it yesterday. Got her cleaned up. So much, much cleaner. Here is the old clutch. Now, it's a little bit different than some cars, being a German vehicle, but basically you have the flywheel. I had to, this side right here was mated up inside the transmission on the input shaft, and basically you unbolt all the bolts and you can pull your flywheel off, and then you have your clutch disc slides off, and then you have your pressure plate actually bolted to the crankshaft on the engine, which is a little bit different than you'd normally see. But basically you pop this little clip out. It's held in place here by these 3 retainers and these 2 holes. So you just use a little pick tool, pops right out, pretty easy. This little cover comes off and it reveals the 6 flywheel bolts. So anyways, and by flywheel bolts I mean probably crankshaft bolts, because this is technically not really the flywheel, because the flywheel is over here, and then the pressure plate unbolts from the back of the engine. So that actually, the pressure plate bolts right up to the engine. So it's kind of in there a little bit reversed from the average cars, but a little bit different than what I'm used to. But basically you will bolt that back in place. You will put the cover back on in place. You will pop your retaining clip back in place. You will put your clutch disc in place. You know, you'll use a clutch alignment tool, and then you'll put your flywheel up, aligning it up with the clutch alignment tool. And once that's all centered, you'll go ahead and put your bolts in and torque the spec. Now, I had to pause because I was waiting on a rear main seal, so it is on its way right now. It was a little bit of a pricey rear main seal. It's about $32 for a rear main, which is a little bit pricey. Most of the time, rear main seals are about $10 to $15, so it's about double the cost, being European and how big it probably is. But over here on the counter, we have the brand new clutch set. Now, here you can see the replacement pressure plate. You can see the replacement flywheel, which with the clutch alignment tool and the clutch disc. So we are waiting on the rear main. We're gonna go ahead and insert the rear main. Turn on this light right here. We're gonna go ahead and insert the rear main seal right there. Got the engine cleaned off pretty good, as I could. And so we'll go ahead and seat the rear main seal right inside there. And we'll proceed forward with mounting this pressure plate. Once the pressure plate's mounted, we will reinsert this cover, the clip. We'll be inserting our clutch disc just like that. We're going to use our clutch alignment tool, and then we are going to put the flywheel on just like that. After the flywheel's on, we'll go ahead and get all our bolts in. We're going to torque the spec. We'll go ahead and remove our clutch alignment tool, and we'll be ready to go ahead and reinstall our transmission. We're going to be careful, make sure that we get the transmission lifted into place carefully to make sure that these splines carefully go through the clutch disc without damaging anything on the actual clutch spring itself. Anyways, I do have to go do some paperwork for the EPA, and then I got to pop a freeze plug in on my boat, so I'll be checking in with you guys here shortly. All right, guys, Riley's came in clutch with the rear main seal. So I went ahead and got down here and I went ahead and set it in. Now you got to be very careful when you set these in that they go in nice and smooth and evenly. I like to set the old seal on top of it. You can use a race and seal driving set, but I don't think my set goes up as big as this. So I went ahead and just sat the old seal on top of the new one, and I just tapped it in nicely with the hammer. And there she is, guys. So we're ready to install the pressure plate. I got the flywheel in place. We are now getting ready to install this cover. Now this cover just goes any which way. And then there is a clip, which I'm going to need both of my hands. And I'm going to use a clip tool to clip in place. All right, guys, I got the flywheel in place. You can see that little tiny metal spacer. The flywheel can only go on in one position. Two of the bolts are actually a little bit closer together. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. And then, of course, it's torqued to spec in a star pattern. And then now we have this little plate. It doesn't really matter which way it goes. Just have to make sure these 3 notches are in like that. And then I'm going to use a hook tool. I'm going to go ahead and pop this clip in place, and I'm going to make sure that the 2 little dowel pins are dropped in these 2 holes, and make sure all 3 locations are clipped in place. Now I actually did most of it by hand. You can see I started with that pin and I kind of pushed it in there, pushed it in there, pushed it in there, and then I'm going to use my hook tool. And there you go. You just want to make sure that it is all intact. You can see this clip looks like it's poking out just a little bit, so I'm going to make sure that we are all latched. There you go. Now, one thing to pay attention to is on the new flywheel, there is a dowel pin. Now, you're going to want to insert this clutch disc in here with the alignment tool, just like that. And then that dowel pin, you have to make sure that it lines up with the notch on the pressure plate. I don't know if you guys can see this, but there is a slight notch on the pressure plate, and that is the only one. So the flywheel can only go into the pressure plate one direction. So double making sure that my clip is still in place. Looks pretty good to me. So let's go ahead and install the flywheel and clutch disc. I got the flywheel and clutch disc in place. I went ahead and used my inch-pounds torque wrench. I went ahead and torqued the bolts in a star-shaped pattern. And now I'm going to back out the clutch alignment tool, and it should look a little something like that. So there we go. New clutch and flywheel set is in place. Now I'm gonna wrap up the day, but our transmission is ready to go back in. We are gonna use a little bit of spline grease on the splines on the shaft of the transmission. And we're gonna go ahead and pack the axle ends in with some grease as well. I'm gonna clean this up and repack these with grease for the CV axles. So, super pumped, super excited. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up, shut this place down, but the Fast and Furious Tribute Jetta is on its way. I'm gonna go ahead and get this transmission probably back in place sometime next week, and then we'll go ahead and start in on the timing set. And we got a couple leaks we got to do, and as well as some full tune-up and fluids. So we are one step closer to getting this thing ready for paint and body. So can't wait to start on the paint and body. But there you guys have it. I'm getting ready to clean up, shut this place down. Guys, if you guys don't mind liking this video, I'd really appreciate it. If you guys could leave a comment down below, it super helps the channel out. Anyways, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. I hope all you guys have a good weekend, and we'll see you on the next one.
Ooh, like LeBron, or like Bonzo. Ooh, I'm a baller, yeah, shot caller, yeah. They love me, you can't touch me, nah, can't trust me. I'm too lucky. Look at me, look at you, what you see, what you do.